I'll let you take it away, Magnus. I believe you're the one that's running this evening.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. I figured we'll just do a quick intro for Tony and myself. I'll start with myself. So I'm Magnus, based in New Zealand, currently in Singapore. We've got a pretty global team, and I've been involved in crypto for the better part of, actually 10 years, I guess, with the early Bitcoin days. I, outside of crypto, run a software company specializing in AI. And it's been really interesting being able to bring, some of that commercial experience into the crypto space. I've been involved with crypto projects since about 2017, and it's been really fun to actually be on the other side, actually building a project, getting it into a market, solving some problems with our technology, and happy to be here. Tony, go for it.
Yep. So my name's Tony. I'm based in the UK, and I'm EXO's co-founder and CEO, along with Magnus. I got into crypto a little bit later than he did, so around the 2017 bull cycle, mostly as an investor. I started taking things a lot more seriously in 2020 and 2021. Really dug into things on a tech side, became more involved in projects, and that's kind of how the two of us met, is being kind of invested in and around the same sort of projects. We bounced ideas off each other very well, and saw a bunch of problems and pain points that people were, particularly new projects, were encountering within the DeFi space and the token launch space. And EXO kind of spawned from that, essentially, from us trying to solve these problems. And what started as a DEX is now this evolved into this whole multi-platform ecosystem, which we'll be demoing some of for you today.
I think Tony set the scene pretty well there. Essentially, the reason EXO exists is there's a whole bunch of tools that exist in the market today. You've got DEXs, you've got locking platforms, you've got launch pads, but no one's really reimagined how they actually fit together, and no one's actually built a fully connected set of tools either. So that's what EXO is. EXO is a set of tools that are all integrated together that solve each of the different areas of a DeFi project. And we have benefits that suit both the projects themselves as well as the traders and all of us that are getting involved in crypto. So instead of going through like a deck or just speaking, we figure let's actually show you a demo of what we've got. As a project, we've been working on the development for probably the last 4 to 5 months, I'd say. So the better part of 2022. We started this as a self-funded project, plus we've run a seed round to kind of start the initial development. And the big goal here was actually to deliver value before the pre-sale was over. So what we want to do is inspire confidence in our community and our investors by actually, having technology ready to go. And by the end of our public round, we actually want to release and launch our platform. So in terms of our development progress, we're sitting at about 85% complete. What I'm going to show you today is our testnet build. This is running with real contracts, with real code in the web. But you'll have to bear with us because there is still a bunch of placeholder text and things that haven't been fully tuned up yet. So with that in mind, let's take you into, the EXO DApp. So as mentioned before, EXO has at a high level has a couple of main core utilities. We have EXO Swap, which is our DEX. That's the swap tool. We have EXO Start, which is our launchpad, and we have EXO Lock, which is our liquidity and token locking tool. Now, in each of these three use cases, we have created some fairly unique features. We've brought new features to these tools, and we will kind of highlight what each of those unique features are. I think we'll go through a fairly high-level overview first, and then if the community has questions, we're more than happy to come back and drill into any of the features themselves. So if we start with the dashboard to the overall solution, this should look familiar, but should feel like it's a new product. And we've taken a couple of design cues from tools that people use, for example, PooCoin. You'll notice that we have a wallet browser that feels very similar in that kind of design aesthetic. But the idea here is that with this dashboard, if you've got any tokens you're interested in tracking, you want to get an idea of your wallet performance, this is the one place to go to kind of see all of that. We wanted to bring utility from a trader point of view into here. So we've got trading view charts. We've got the ability to bring custom indicators in. You have the full flexibility to analyze and look at token trends and things the way that you'd expect. So let's say now we've got to the point where we're happy with the way our wallet's going, and we're looking to actually do some swaps, jump into EXO Swap. And again, this should feel familiar from existing swap tools, but it does have our own design flair applied across all of it. So what you're seeing here is just a basic pair between BNB and EXO. I'm going to do a simple 0.1 swap. And this is the first area where we're going to start to see some of the unique selling points that we've implemented within the EXO platform. One of the features that we wanted to, or one of the issues that Tony and I saw working on projects in the past was that for a project to actually raise funds, once it's launched, often they have to take token taxes and they have to sell them to generate revenue for the marketing efforts, for exchange listings, for whatever they need to do. So the first thing that we've done with EXO Swap as a key differentiator is we've enabled the DEX itself to set custom fees. This means a project can set up a custom fee that gets taken in this case in BNB, for example. You can take the fee in the large cap instead of your own token. And this means you don't actually have to sell your own token to get the marketing funds back out. So just like any other swap, I'm going to hit swap here. And you can see, similar to the other DEXs, we have some pretty basic information around, how much you're going to receive, price impact, and the base DEX fee. What's interesting is that we now have the ability to set, a dev wallet fee, a sweepstake prize pool, like a lottery type fee, a buyback fee, and a team treasury fee. And this is all implemented within the DEX itself. And so if I hit this confirm swap, I'll hit approve inside MetaMask, and in the background, this swap is taking place. So what's interesting here is it enables any project, regardless of whether they've set up fees in their contract or not, to take advantage of this functionality. And it's something they can turn on straight away. Just like you'd expect with any kind of swap, you can see the breakdown. But the nice thing here is that you can see, based on the swap itself, we've got a breakdown with different fees taken in different tokens.
So for anyone who might not be clear on exactly what this is doing, the best sort of comparison is projects like SafeMoon. I think they were the one that kind of really popularized the idea of adding a tax onto your token for things like reflections, liquidity, burns, those type of things. And then tokens like Everise took it a step further, where they were automatically selling back their token to build up a pool of BNB or BUSD for buybacks on their token. But of course, the common point there is that you're always collecting the fees in your own token, and you always have to liquidate them back at some point and sell. And of course, that obviously creates a lot of negativity in the community, even if you are the project is doing it for legitimate reasons such as marketing or dev costs or utilities, that type of thing. And when you've built token taxes into your token contract, that's something that, particularly if you've renounced, but even maybe not necessarily if you haven't built in the ability on your token contracts to actually disable those fees, it makes it very difficult to get your token listed onto other exchanges as well, because those tokenomics just don't play well with the internal hot wallet structure of a centralized exchange. And so what we've got here is a way for, in the early days of a project, they can set these token taxes, they can benefit from them, take the taxes on their token in the large cap or the stable coin, half of the pair. And then when they grow and they outgrow just being listed on a single DEX, and they want to start listing on centralized exchanges, they're not tied into these kind of like huge taxes on their token contracts. It gives a lot more flexibility, and it gives them usable funds in large cap or stable coin immediately on day one.
Yeah. So that's probably one of the most core unique selling points that we have as a DEX, is the ability for those projects to be able to customize those fees. The second thing that we think is pretty game-changing in terms of enhancing a swap is the ability to actually fill these swap trades on other platforms. So let's say we're trading BNB, BUSD, two fairly large cap / stable coins. Now, we could fill this trade automatically on Pancake, on any of the other BSC DEXs, but we have actually integrated the ability to fill the trade on a centralized exchange as well. we've got a exclusive partnership set up with Mandala Exchange, and Mandala are a Binance Cloud based exchange, which means that any trades that we send to Mandala actually get filled using Binance liquidity behind the scenes, the Binance order book. So this means that you can actually sit inside the EXO front end. You could do a trade here, and this trade would be filled on Binance for real in the background. And you don't need to have a Binance or a Mandala account set up. So this is actually going to open up the ability to have, well, it means EXO by launch will have a huge amount of liquidity available for filling trades, bigger than a lot of the other DEXs that already exist in market. And that's on day one, thanks to being able to provide that Mandala connection. Now, for projects who are looking to get into the platform, we also have this one-click method for actually bringing liquidity into the platform. Now, I don't have any LP tokens in my wallet right now, so I can't quickly show that. But if you're a project who has already deployed on Pancake and you're looking to launch a pool on EXO as well, with one click, we can actually take the LP tokens from Pancake, or a portion of them. We can unpack them, turn them into EXO LP tokens, and instantly set up the LP liquidity pool contract automatically. So the idea here is that we want to make it very simple for traders, very simple for projects to actually launch and trade within EXO itself. We'll jump into the next one around EXO Lock. And so, there are projects that have launched in the market today, specifically doing token locking, liquidity locking, and things haven't really progressed too much in terms of, how creative and additional features and options that they give people. Most commonly, the one people will know is time-based locking, right? The ability to, let's create a lock for EXO. So the most common one is that I want to lock an EXO token and I want to unlock it at a certain time. And that's pretty common. But what we're starting to look at is, can we create additional, can we make locking more interesting by providing more logical options? So what that actually means in practice, we've created this canvas view. And if you look here on the left-hand side, we essentially have a bunch of different conditions. So it's not just time-based anymore. We can now say, without performance-based unlocking, let's say if the token price actually hits, $10, or the total amount of burned tokens reaches 10%. Then we want to unlock the tokens. So suddenly we can create these really interesting multi-level or even different sets of logic to actually unlock the tokens. Out of the box, we're going to support these specific conditions, but we've actually designed the contract in a way that allows us to include additional unlocking features in the future as well. So if you've got an oracle on-chain that provides data about the weather, the tokens can unlock when it reaches winter because the temperature's gone below a certain level. You could have a partnership or a sponsorship with the sports team, and if they win the game, then all the tokens unlock for the different holders. And so what we're looking at is trying to enhance the options that people are using locks for. Previously, they were just used for projects to lock tokens away. But we want to actually make these more accessible and more usable by different use cases and parties as well. Did you want to add anything else there, Tony?
Yeah, and even the projects themselves. So we obviously have there's always a bit of friction between communities and developers on the unlocking and the distribution of team wallets and the dev tokens, the dev wallet. And what this is kind of intended to do for projects specifically is to allow the developers to set specific deliverables and targets that they can hit to the community for the community in order to unlock their tokens. So the example might be that let's say the dev wallet tokens or the team tokens are locked up for 1 year. But it may be that actually they use a dual layer conditional unlocking set of criteria where they can say, okay, well the team tokens are locked up for 1 year, but if the token price hits $10 by 6 months time, before 6 months from the day of this unlock, this token lock being created, then maybe the team gets 30% of their tokens unlocked, and the remainder of the remaining 70% still unlocks at the end of the year. If it hits $20 by that time, maybe they get 50% unlocked, and then 50% unlocked at the end of the year. And if they don't hit their deliverables, then they get their tokens at the end of the year. Or perhaps if they don't hit them, maybe some of those dev tokens even get burned, and they only receive a portion of those as well. And so it kind of takes away that grey area about if whether the team token should be unlocked and sold, whether the dev should be dipping into the dev wallet and selling them to fund. It could be for legitimate purposes. It may be for something a little bit less ethical. We know there's a lot of shadiness, unfortunately, in crypto, and I think this allows teams to create a very transparent way of setting themselves deliverables that also benefit the community as well. I think if you could get the token price, you can hit a certain target level in order to have some of your tokens released as a reward. I think most of the community will be pretty happy with that as a compromise. So yeah, I mean, the Oracle defined unlocking, of course, that's going to open up a ton of different possibilities. Any data point that exists on Oracle can theoretically then be used as a condition for unlocking part or all of tokens or the tokens, or changing the vesting terms, the amounts that are unlocked, those type of things. And so we kind of anticipate people they'll come up with some very creative uses for this once they really dig into it, and we have that Oracle integration, which should hopefully come within the next phase of development.
Awesome. One of the last scenarios that came to mind that we've talked about in the past is, let's say you're engaging like a marketing firm, and you want to offer the marketing firm a bonus if they can actually really deliver exceptionally on the contract. So let's say they're trying to grow the Discord community. If they were to hit this many active members by this time, they get their base fee. But if they actually hit this target, you could unlock a bonus amount of tokens for them as well. So it's really flexible, and we're really excited to see what different projects and people use this locking for. The third and final utility that we want to introduce as part of the session is EXO Start, and this is our first-party launchpad. EXO is compatible with other launchpads as well, but what we wanted to provide was a way for you to enter EXO ecosystem and follow it all the way through, from launching through to swapping. So this is what our launchpad looks like. And so if we go to create a presale, you're actually guided through a wizard that takes you through step by step how to actually set that up. So what I'm going to do here is add presale, and we're going to allow people to participate in the presale using BUSD. We're going to sell, let's say, 10,000 tokens. And we're going to set like a base price for that listing rate. What we've done here that's interesting compared to existing presale tools is we're trying to model this after how legitimate companies outside of, like in the tech space, how they're actually doing their funding rounds. And so it's not just about running a presale right at the beginning that should last you 3 years. Let's do it in a more sustainable way that allows you to grow over time. And so we can do this using multiple rounds. So in this case, let's just say we've got 2 rounds, keep it simple. And we allow you to basically put all the parameters in that lets your round get set up. So private means it's a whitelisted round. We can set the start and end times. You can upload the whitelisted addresses if you have any at the beginning. But what's particularly interesting here is that we've changed it from just being a set token price. If you wanted to sell the tokens at 12 cents, no problem. That's totally possible. But what we've actually also introduced is a dynamic pricing or a variable pricing concept within the presale. And this means that people can actually choose their own price that they want to pay, but the price that they pay has a direct impact on how long the tokens are vested for. So what that means is, let's say the minimum vesting period is 30 days, the max vesting period is 90 days. That means if we choose a cheaper price, then the vesting period will be higher. And if we choose a more expensive price, the vesting period will be lower. This basically means that people have the ability to match the risk profile. And also, if you have a long-term belief in a project, you're probably more likely to go for the cheaper price but the longer vesting term, because you're going to get more tokens. If you're more interested in that short-term gain, then you can pay a higher price up front, but you get access to your tokens sooner. So we're really trying to change the game here in terms of being able to allow people to have the choice, choose the risk profile that matches their own trading strategy, and just give people more choice.
Yep, and the great thing about this method as well is that it's very easy for the project themselves to actually create the pre-sale tokenomics. There's no pressure on them to design multiple rounds to make sure they raise enough money with with different vesting periods and cliffs. You could just create a single round or even multiple rounds that would use the same variable pricing, where all they've got to do is they set the outcome that they want. So they want to sell X amount of tokens for a specific amount to be raised. They set the minimum maximum vesting period that they want those tokens spread out over, and then people can choose the price that they want, and they'll get a vesting period that matches accordingly with that. And so, even though everybody comes in and they may choose, everybody's going to have a very, very slightly different price and vesting terms based on the kind of what's available at the time that they come in. The end result is that if the developers wanted to sell 10,000 tokens and raise $10,000 and have between a 1 month and a 10-month vesting period, then that outcome will happen. And so at the end of that sale, 10,000 tokens will have been sold, $10,000 will have been raised, and on average, those tokens are spread out between 1 and 10 months vesting. So it's much easier for the project, and it gives the people coming in some more flexibility about, do they want to go long-term vesting, or do they want to have a much shorter vesting term and kind of go for the quick flip by paying a larger price?
Yep. So what we've just shown is a very quick brief through the top 3 main utilities that we're launching very soon. Like we said before, we're 85% through development, so we're actually real close to being able to launch. It's looking like we're going to launch Swap, and maybe specifically the off-chain integration with the centralized exchange first, and then we'll look to launch the additional functionality over the coming weeks. But we're open to any questions if the community wants us to dive into any of the features specifically.
Yeah, I think there's actually just a couple more features that aren't necessarily on here yet that are probably worth touching on, which is the token and the affiliate. And also, actually, just quickly to go back to EXO Start, I think one of the things kind of along the lines of what Magnus has just said, we're very much trying to emulate the ability of crypto projects to be able to emulate the way the traditional tech startups raise funds. And part of what they do is these projects, they don't have to necessarily raise all of their funds right at the beginning. Like I said, we've got the multiple rounds that we have available. One of those rounds is actually where the projects can shift some of their tokens into what we call a Series B, and that's where essentially those tokens, they'll set a specific discount on those tokens, which will apply to the market rate at the time the series is triggered. They'll set vesting terms, and then those tokens will go into trust and can be triggered and the sale of those tokens can be triggered at a time in the future after the token is launched. So very much how a traditional startup might do, they might release Class A shares and then release some Class B shares later on as a cash injection. It's designed to emulate that and take a bit of the pressure off projects in terms of being able to actually raise money in a market exactly like we're in now, where there's a lot of people are sat in a loss. There's not a lot of money around right now, and a project that they may decide they need $1 million to get from to build out their entire roadmap, have liquidity, have marketing, and perhaps if they try to raise that much right now, they may struggle to fill half of that, and that could put the project at risk. What we're doing with this is allowing them to have a much smaller initial raise and kind of adapt to the market conditions, but also have some tokens in trust that they can sell later on down the line. And of course, all of this is completely transparent because it's the Series B round it's there for everybody to see at the start, so everyone is aware that the Series B is going to come at some point. The amount of tokens is being sold is the same. So if the entire amount of tokens in the pre-sale is 100,000 tokens, the project decides to shift half of that into Series B. That means 50,000 will be sold in the pre-sale rounds, and 50,000 will be available for a Series B fundraising round sometime in the future after the token launches. The vesting terms, the price the vesting terms of discount are all set, so it's all very, very transparent. And for anybody who gets into the whitelist, there's really no sort of downside. Anyone who gets into the pre-sale, it reduces the amount of tokens that are on the market from day one by shifting them into the future. And so that's a feature that we think will be quite popular during markets like this, where projects just there's not a lot of money around, and it's more difficult to raise the money that a project needs for their entire roadmap. The second feature I kind of just wanted to touch on was the affiliates. And so what we've got in development right now, which is actually being built, we've been kind of discussing this with the developers today, is an NFT-based affiliate system. So the way this will work is we will generate an affiliate NFT. We can provide these NFTs to partner projects such as core groups, launch pads, influencers, other exchanges. Anyone who who can potentially refer new projects who will want to launch on EXO Start and trade their token on EXO Swap. And what we do is we take 20% of the team treasury portion of the trading fees on the DEX, and for every token that person refers using their NFT referral code, they will receive, that affiliate will receive that 20% on that trading pair for life. And so, number one, if you were to be lucky enough to refer the next Safe Moon in the next cycle, you'd be getting 20% of the fees that we take as a project on every trade on that token pair. So that, I'm sure that'd be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if you were lucky enough to launch the new Safe Moon. But even if you didn't, if you had 20, 25, 30 different projects that are all referred using that single NFT, that could be thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars a week in referrals, referral income, if those tokens are producing significant volume. And of course, because the referrals are tied to an NFT rather than a wallet, what it means is you've actually got a saleable asset there that's generating income. You could put that NFT up for sale and potentially sell it on for a lot of money. And that's been very popular with people who want to kind of, with affiliate marketers, influencers, everyone's been really keen to get on board with that. And everybody wins, right? We get projects referred to us, affiliates get some really nice rewards, and we think that's going to be a great way of us growing our EXO Swap exclusive liquidity. And then just the final thing I want to touch on is just the EXO token itself and how it fits into the ecosystem. So fundamentally, it's a utility token. The idea is that holding EXO unlocks specific functionality around the ecosystem. So a pretty good example is on the screen right now. You've got limit orders. So until the token launches, obviously all of these will be they'll be available to everybody. Once the token goes live, there'll be a requirement to hold a certain amount of EXO tokens to access limit orders. So, for example, you can still swap as normal without having the EXO token in your wallet or having staked it, but you may have to hold a very small amount of EXO, maybe $10, $15, $20 worth, in order to access limit orders, for example. And then when we get to the kind of more advanced tools, maybe you have to hold $25, $30, $40, $50 worth. But the idea is for traders that we're going to set the price point very low, so it makes sense for everybody to be able to hold a very small amount of EXO in their wallet that isn't a significant portion of their their overall portfolio, and they can just kind of leave that there, and it enables access to this suite of features. And if we get a lot of people holding a very small amount of EXO, then that's obviously going to massively reduce the circulating supply and create a ton of long-term demand for the token. And then as far as things like EXO Start, EXO Lock, the things that are aimed at projects where they have bigger budgets, the amount of EXO that you need to hold to access those features will be a bit more be higher, maybe if it's a few hundreds or a few $1,000 worth of EXO, depending on what the actual functionality is. But those tiers will be decided kind of in conjunction and communication with our community, because ultimately, whatever the holders want to see, as far as the token utilities and the price points, that's we'll certainly be guided by that pretty heavily. The second big thing about the EXO token is we do try to make EXO token holders into more of shareholders and stakeholders, again going back to the kind of like traditional startup route, where rather than just minting off tokens for rewards like a lot of projects do, we have a few revenue share mechanisms from our various different utilities and platforms. Primarily the two mechanisms are, number one, we will pay dividends, so we'll take a portion of the fees that we levy on EXO Swap, EXO Start, EXO Lock, every platform, and those will go into a dividend pool where EXO token holders can stake and earn those dividends in, and those dividends will be in BUSD. So it's it's a withdrawable stable coin. It doesn't go up or down. It's a very obviously everyone loves BUSD rewards, right? And then the second way, of course, is another portion of the fees goes into buying back and burning the EXO token, and so obviously that's like self-explanatory. Buys the token, increases the price, burns a token, reduces circulating supply, increases the price even more. And what we have here is a mechanism which, what we call it a rising price floor. And so the price floor will be set at the launch price, there or thereabouts. So that the token launches at $1. Over time, that price floor is going to rise, and it will rise in conjunction with the emission rates on the reward tokens reducing. When the token is above its price floor, so let's say the price floor is $1, the token price is $1.50, everything stays as normal, the platform operates the way you see now. If it drops below that, so maybe the token drops to 90 cents, the price floor is at $1, we then divert a larger portion of the fees that we take from all of the different utilities to buying back and burning the token until it's back above its price floor. And that price floor will rise over time. So that kind of, what we're essentially saying is we're creating a rising price floor under the token, and it will be backed up by buy pressure that we create with our own revenue. And because the revenue comes from a product, we have products here that people will pay to use, whether it's trading fees on the DEX, whether it's paying to launch a project on EXO Stars, paying to lock up some tokens in EXO Lock. We have we have products that people will pay to use. So it's a sustainable revenue essentially that's going to be pushing the token price up while also rewarding people who hold it in stablecoin. So there's a lot of incentives to actually hold the EXO token, both from a utility and a reward perspective, as well as the appreciation of the price, as far as the rising price floor mechanism that we've got. So yeah, I think that's kind of touched on everything we wanted to go through at a high level. If anybody has any questions, we can start taking those now, I think.
If anyone has any specific questions, a couple of you guys had your mics crackling, so I just muted them, but I'll just unmute them now. Does anyone have any specific questions at all for the guys?
I was just wondering what your fee structure is going to be like for your launchpad.
Yep. So the fee structure for the launchpad at the moment we're looking at like 0.39% of the total raise is what we're working with at the moment. Now that's very likely to be adjusted downwards. The idea of the EXO Lock, the EXO Start launchpad is not so much to profit from the launches themselves, but actually to get projects to launch on EXO, and get people trading on EXO Swap. The fee will be variable, and again, this is one of those things where we can kind of set that in conjunction with feedback from both the community and our holders, but also partner projects, other tokens that are kind of looking to launch. We're not tying ourselves down to a specific fee structure. We would like it to be a kind of a flat fee, but for the time being, I think a percentage is kind of that's the industry standard in most for most launchpads where they take a percentage. So for the time being, we're working with that 0.39% of the total raise, but very likely that will be adjusted downwards as we grow.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, one thing I was going to I heard earlier on is, do you want to expand on the Mandela? How significant that is? Is that a common occurrence? For a project to get access to that? And what what the implications of that are?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is so it's not something that exists anywhere currently, and essentially what it does, and I'm kind of repeating what Magnus said earlier on when running through EXO Swap. I mean, this gives us access on day one to Binance and Mandala's shared liquidity pool, which obviously comes as no surprise to say that's the biggest centralized exchange liquidity pool in the world. It won't necessarily be cross-chain across all networks on day one, but we will very quickly be integrating new chains to the point where doing cross-chain swaps is going to be super easy via that. You connect your wallet, you choose the input token that you want to sell, you choose the output token and the output network, you input the output wallet. So if you're swapping BNB for Phantom, for example, you would select BNB, the amount that you want to swap, you select Phantom as the output token, and then you input a Phantom address that you want to withdraw to, and then you click send. In the background, our application does its wizardry, executes the trade using the Mandala Binance infrastructure in the background, and then we'll send those funds back out to the user's address on the Phantom network as well. And so one of the, obviously, is not as well as the the huge liquidity pool that gives us access access to. One of the great things about this is that it's a very secure way of doing cross-chain bridging, and I know it's very common knowledge so that cross-chain bridges, when they're done on chain, are very vulnerable to exploits. We see pools being drained by exploits all like pretty regularly as far as cross-chain bridging goes. Because this is all done on Binance hot wallet infrastructure, it's as secure as trading on Binance and Mandala. It's we're not vulnerable to the exploits that these other cross-chain bridges are vulnerable to, and we have a much larger liquidity pool and choice of pairs to trade on as well from day one.
Yeah, gotcha. We had a question come in DMs about your whitelists. How to get one, what's going on with those. When does it end? When does it start? What's the min max? That type of thing.
Yeah. So the whitelist round that's going on right now is this is basically kind of this is a reward round, I guess, for our early adopters and whitelist winners who've won various giveaways to be able to get in at a sort of better rate and get a better discount than what the later rounds will be. We will be giving away some more whitelist spots. There, that's kind of like we'll just be a case of keep an eye on the community, and those giveaways will be announced as and when they happen. We've obviously got a few people who have been whitelisted who have not yet contributed, so they may come in. The allocation is on that is $268,000 was the total amount in there at the moment. That will close in, I believe, just over a week. I did have the date written down. I don't have it off the top of my head. Minimum is 250, max is 10k. And once this round is done, then we will kind of move on to the more public rounds, which will be kind of a lower discount rate, 30% discount on the whitelist round, 20 on the upcoming public rounds.
So, is there a way for the guys here today to is there a way for them to get a whitelist spot, or have they missed that opportunity, or?
No, so there won't be. So we will be doing some more whitelist giveaways. The way we've been operating this currently is we've been giving away a few as kind of like part of the AMA package to people who were involved in AMAs, and we've also had certain kind of giveaway contests where people give so many invites to the server or retweet us, follow us on socials, those type of things. So there will be a few more giveaways. We'll be announcing those shortly in the community.
We're actually giving away 5 in this AMA itself, I believe, and so Mitch will need your help to hand those out.
Yeah, cool. If anyone wants any of those spots, just send me a message. I've also posted the Discord link in the main chat with a little tag. But I thought I wasn't sure if there was you guys were offering one for this. I thought you were. That's why I was just double checking. But for those who want those spots, just message me and I'll connect you guys, or you can message Magnus. Either one works. Do we have any other questions at all? I do have a general one. Sorry, Slim, go.
Oh, okay, thanks. I was wondering what your plans were if this round of pre-sale doesn't get filled or you're very short on filling it. What are the plans?
So this round is essentially I don't know how much you've I don't know how new you are to the EXO project. So we designed our pre-sale tokenomics at during the bullish period, and the idea was to kind of raise enough to build the entire kind of phase 1, 2, 3 utilities, have a lot to spend on the on bull market prices as far as marketing goes, that type of thing. What we did was a month or two back, we actually redesigned the tokenomics to make use of the Series B function. So we're shifting a bunch of our pre-sale tokens into a Series B contract, and that will happen sometime in the future. So the idea of the whitelist round was at the time we redesigned the tokenomics, we had already had we'd given away whitelist spots to everyone who contributed to the seed round. And we'd also ran some contests and had some kind of community engagement things to win whitelist spots So what we did was we created this whitelist round as a way to reward those guys who had already whitelisted with a better rate, essentially for having that whitelist spot. So this round, if this round doesn't fill, that's fine. These tokens will just shift into Series B, and they'll be kind of sold in the future at some point, as per the kind of the model that we were discussing within the AMA right now. So those tokens are not going to be put onto the market immediately.
Just one other thing on that is that we've also got some private allocations with a couple of other groups. So the actual pre-sale dashboard is showing the main round by default, but we have funds coming in from other sources as well, enough for us to complete the development and actually start generating revenue from fees.
Do you have any? Sorry, Gasly. My apologies.
Oh yeah, I was just saying at this point, yeah, the MVP utilities will definitely drop at this, pretty much on schedule. We're a little bit behind, as probably by 3 to 4 weeks than we'd hope to be. That's kind of just the nature of software development, unfortunately. But we're pretty much where we wanted to be. And yeah, these utilities will definitely launch. The token will definitely launch. When the token launches, we'll be done kind of we'll consult with the community and our pre-sale holders, because we've had a lot of people reaching out saying they would prefer that we didn't launch the token during this kind of bearish market at the moment, which we can completely understand. And so we are in a position where we can release these utilities that you've just seen today, start generating fees. We can still pay the dividend portion to anyone who has actually bought into the pre-sale. So even though the token hasn't been released yet, we know which wallet has bought what tokens, and so we can still pay those dividends out to people from our fees even before the token launches. And so that's probably that's kind of the feedback we've had from a lot of people, and we think it makes a lot of sense to grow the utilities, and then the demand for the token will grow naturally when we launch the token later in the year and we're a little bit more bullish. So that's probably where we're going with that at the moment.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I appreciate the answer. So there's a main whitelist round and also private investors coming in at the same time to both form part of this, 268K goal? Am I understanding that right, or am I wrong?
That's right.
Okay. And so are the private investors also following the same vesting schedule as the rest of the whitelist round?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I do also, I think I like the idea of launching the product, letting fees pay dividends to whitelist and seed round people, and then launching later. So I think I agree with that. Haven't completely thought that through, but I think I agree.
It makes a lot of sense as far as because ultimately the main consideration when you actually launch the token for trading is you want the best launch and the best price appreciation, so people who bought into the whitelist rounds and the pre-sale get good value for money as far as token appreciation goes. If we can pay the dividends, which we can, to people before they are in the pre-sale, and they're getting before the token launches, then they're getting all the benefits essentially that they would have if they had the tokens in their wallet. As far as the revenue share goes, it just means that we can launch the token, which at a time when we've actually kind of built up our reputation and we've got a user base and we're generating fees and revenue, and then there's going to be much more demand for the token. And I think that makes a lot of sense for both us as a project and for the people who actually get into that sale as well, rather than just rushing the token out now and with zero consideration to the market. I think adapting to market conditions like this is very important, and that's kind of what we've been doing all along, with reducing the amount we were raising, adapting and kind of like creating this Series B type of concepts, and now potentially looking at just drop their utilities, which is very much kind of like what Uniswap did. Their kind of Uniswap PancakeSwap, their tokens came after their utilities. I think if we grow a user base for the platforms that we're building, then the demand for the token will follow, and I think it just makes a lot of sense all around.
Yeah, and building the reputation is a really good point. That's great. Thanks.
No problem. Good question.
Yeah. Do you have a a light paper or any where I had a message that there was a lot covered like there's a lot of information. Do you have a light paper for people to kind of wrap their head around this in a more summarized, like compact way?
Yes, so we do have one. It's currently being formatted by our branding creative guys. So at the minute it's just like a plain text document. I can share it, but obviously it's just there's no EXO branding on it. It's very much just a kind of a PDF document at this point. But if people want to see that, as far as a 2-page summary, then it is it's much easier to digest than the white paper. And the white paper is for better or for worse, it's going to be getting a revision soon, which will make it a little bit longer. So yeah, the MVP light paper is certainly something we can share.
Cool. Does anyone have any other questions before we wrap things up? Well, okay then. So I guess just to summarize, if anyone wants, one of the whitelist spots, they have 4 available now because one person snagged one already. And the link to the EXO server is in the main chat. And I guess thanks for jumping on the CT server, guys. Hard Worker will upload the AMA tonight, I think, maybe, or tomorrow morning, depending on what he's up to at the moment. And we can send you a link. Do that tonight. Cool. Yeah, Hard Worker's pretty. You could say he's a hard worker when it comes to this stuff. But so we'll share the link in the server for anyone who came in late anyway. And then so do you guys have anything else to add before we wrap things up? At all?
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, cheers. No, it's when I heard you in New Zealand, I thought, I don't know, but I guess one or two of you guys is okay. No, I always say Australians and New Zealanders, we tease each other all the time. But if anyone outside of Australia and New Zealand teases either of us, we kind of stick up for each other. So cool. Well, thanks for coming, everyone, and I will speak to a fair few of you in the next day or two.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
For having us.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.